State, Zach, my first question to you is: Ohio State playing a team with a pulse?
Yeah. Yeah.
They
I think
definitely are.
so. Yeah.
So we'll see if this is enough for Danny Cannell if he thinks that Ohio State's playing a team with a pulse.
Oh
Um,
dear.
Ohio State heads to East Lansing to face Michigan State in Week 5 Big Ten matchup. Ohio State is ranked number 3 and a heavy 24-point favorite, similar to Oregon, against UCLA, coming off a dominant non-conference performance, boasting the 4th-ranked scoring offense in 52.3 points per game and a very highly rated defense as well. Michigan State, led by their new head coach, Jonathan Smith, is coming off a close loss to Boston College. Honestly, I think they probably could have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't turn the ball over a little bit. But
Yep.
Boston College and ranks 93rd in scoring offense, while Ohio State has won 9 straight in East Lansing. Oddmakers expect a high-scoring game with a total set at 50.5 points. Most bets favor Ohio State continuing its dominance. Kickoff at 7:30 on Peacock. You're going to have Peacock to watch this one on Saturday night. Zach, what are your thoughts going into the game?
My first thought is Peacock should die, but that's
Do you have Peacock?
I do.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, I know you have it. Did you have it before though? Like, were you
yes, I
watching it
did.
before?
I
Okay.
did, but I think this whole like watch Paramount Plus, and that's the only way you can get this game. It's like, oh, come on,
Like
guys.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, like it's better than not having access at all, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think this
Think
whole
about like
thing,
30 years ago, Zach, when you couldn't even watch every game.
yeah, yeah. I
Yankee said you had Peacock. Why? To watch The Office. That's why I had it, Yankee.
yeah. I just always well, that's getting too far down the weeds. Never mind. So I think a key to the game is I think for Ohio State, they've got to come in with the attitude that they need to dominate on the
Mm-hmm.
defensive line. Because I mean, they struggled mightily against Marshall. And I know like they were down Tyleek. You shouldn't struggle like that without Tyleek against Marshall. And so I think that's for me a key, not just for the game, but I think for the season is was that a one-off for the D line or is that a trend? Because this offensive line, I think, can give Ohio State issues if that's actually a trend.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Now, I think Michigan State has been okay on the offensive line. I think they, like we talked about with the Maryland game, they were better than Maryland, but I don't know how much, how difficult it is to to be better than Maryland in the trenches. However, I wonder how much of it is the offensive line and how much of it is Aiden Childs. I do think Aiden Childs before the snap is having some trouble, directing his offensive line and how they block, right? I mean, that is a huge
Mhm.
responsibility for the quarterback, and that's something you don't often notice. You can see when a guy gets just beat right away, right? Everybody can see that, but you don't see it. Is Aiden Childs, is he communicating to his offensive line and making sure that they know what protection is best? Is he making sure that he's putting his running back in the right spot to be his shield protection there? It's just a whole lot of different things that go into it. When Aiden Childs being so young, I'm not sure if he has the experience enough to be doing that stuff yet. Obviously, he's mobile. Obviously, he's one of these guys that can run around in the backfield and keep the play alive, which is really really good for them, and they need that. However, that's also turned into turnovers a couple
Mhm.
times, right? I mean, we know Aiden Childs. I think he has the highest A dot in the Big Ten. It's like 13 right now, which is just insane.
Yeah.
13 A dot.
That's
If you follow that stat at all, it's just crazy. Nobody really is that high. At least nobody that's consistently good is normally
yeah.
that high. But Aiden Childs, he's throwing the ball downfield. So for me, it's not so much a key for Ohio State to win the game as much as it is just for like their confidence and what they need to do, because Ohio State's defense has struggled to get turnovers last year, and they did a pretty good job of it the first few games, but they had 0 turnovers against Marshall. And so you
Mhm.
think about it, like a team like Marshall, you should be getting turnovers against them. All respect to Marshall, but you should be getting turnovers against them. You really should be getting turnovers against Michigan State. I'm gonna be honest, Zach, if Ohio State doesn't have at least 3 turnovers in this game or 3 takeaways in this game, I think it's a concern for Ohio State fans. Even if
Yeah.
you win the game, I think it's a concern for Ohio
Yeah.
State fans.
My prediction for this game is it's the Caleb Downs game.
Oh yeah.
Because I think our concerns with turnovers at least will be abated. Because you just talked about 13 yards depth of target. We've been waiting for this for Caleb Downs to have a quarterback who likes to go down the field.
Yep. And he's going to have to make those plays, right? I
Yep.
mean, he's the one switching over from strong safety to free safety for Ohio State. He's going to have to, make himself known on the back end and make sure people know you're not going to be able to throw downfield.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
this is a great game to have that example for him. So,
Yep.
Zach, do you have a key for Michigan State?
I think it's similar, I think, to what I've said about it before, is that Aiden Childs just has to play within the system. And which is, I think, hard when you have the talent of Ohio State bearing down on you. But I mean, to your point about the Boston College game, that was that was on Aiden Childs trying to play hero ball. Like, there's no reason why you have to throw that pass into double coverage to the end zone when you have plenty of time. You're working the middle of the field. You're getting throws out of bounds. Like, he looked really good on that drive until he threw that pick, and you didn't have to do it. I think that's the thing, is unforced errors. Like, it's already going to be an uphill battle for Michigan State. You can't make it insurmountable with mistakes. And I get it. Like, Childs is young, he's raw, he's working things out. But like, Jonathan Smith has to tell him and say, hey, I want you to be a playmaker, but understand, be a playmaker within the system, within the structure of the offense. Don't try to be a hero, because if you try to be a hero, you will get killed.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's, to me, the mistake they need to avoid is they need to avoid making Aiden Childs the hero. Aiden Childs can be a very good piece for your team. At this point in his career with how young he is, this is one of the things that Nebraska has done so well with Dylan Raiola, is they've not made him out to be the hero. They just asked him, be the quarterback, take
Yep.
care of the ball, make the plays we need you to make, be the quarterback. And unfortunately, with Michigan State right now, they're looking at Nick Marsh and Aiden Childs and saying, be the hero. They're young kid.
Yep.
They're young players. I mean, that's a lot on their shoulders. Now, this is gonna be really good experience for them down the line. But if Michigan State, I don't think they really have a chance of winning this game against Ohio State. But if they want to win future games, they're going to have to make
Yep.
sure that Aiden Childs is not the hero every single game, and that way they're relying on. I mean, you have a good running back duo in Katron Lynch Adams and Nate Carter as well. Make sure you're giving those guys the ball as well. So we'll see. Mistakes to avoid in this one. My mistake for Ohio State to avoid in this one: don't get anybody hurt.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
That's for me. Now, obviously, this is a Big Ten game. You need to take care of business, but at the end of the day, don't get anybody hurt in this game. Just play well, have your offensive line be healthy, have the defense be healthy, get out to an early lead, put the backups in, and take care of business. That's what Ohio State should do. Now, if they play around with their food, like they did with Marshall a little bit, that won't happen as quickly. But they need to come out. They need to be dominant while the starters are in. Zach, what's your mistake to avoid for Ohio State?
I think slow start, like, start fast.
Yep.
And there's a weird tendency in the Ryan Day era that some of these undermatched opponents, they just start sluggish. And
Yep.
typically when Ryan Day says we got to start fast, that's when I get the most nervous, because I'm
I
like,
remember when it
every
happened against Indiana last year. They said we got to start fast.
yeah,
Well, you were almost losing to Indiana in the first half last year,
yeah,
which
yeah,
that was a much worse Indiana team than it is now this year. So
yeah, yeah. So I think, though, start fast. Like, that's, I think, the big thing. Like, don't start slow. Don't, like, put the pedal to the metal and close this out so that you can get backups in.
I agree. I agree. Did you have a mistake for Michigan State? I gave mine.
I think the mistake for Michigan State is, I think, and I think they will do this, but what I would say, don't. Oh gosh, I'm using double negatives. That's not good. I think the mistake would be to try to man up on Ohio State. Like, I instead of so I think what they should do, and I think what they will do, is play a lot of, like, cover 3, cover 4, try to keep everything in front of them. But I would not man up on this team because we saw it against Marshall. And that's, I think, honestly, the mistake that everybody should avoid if you're not like Georgia or Alabama, right? Like, if you want to get killed, like, just go one on one against Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka, and yeah, just don't do it. So that would be my mistake.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really much of anything Michigan State can do defensive wise in this game to beat Ohio State. I think if Michigan State has success on defense, it's more going to be Ohio State beating themselves than Michigan State beating Ohio State. And I say that with all due respect to Michigan State. I'm not trying to say they're a bad team. I picked them to beat Maryland. I picked them to beat Boston College. I think Michigan State has some good aspects to their team, and I think Aiden Childs is a good quarterback. I think he has a lot of talent. I think right now it's just really, really hard when you are the playmaker on the offense and you're so young and you're still finding your stride. But on defense, like it's going to be more decision making from the quarterback and
Yeah.
poor blocking that is going to keep Ohio State from winning this game rather than Michigan State themselves, in my mind. So
Yeah.
my score prediction for this one, I'm actually going to have it be a little bit closer than maybe some other ones, just because I do think Ohio State probably gets out to that slow start offensively. I think maybe there's some drops, maybe there's some bad decision making, something like that. Their first game on the road, their very first game, we saw that a little bit against Akron. I could see it happening again here, but I think the defense is going to be dominant. I think it's going to be 35-6, Ohio State.
We have a very similar score differential. I've got 41-13. I think it is a little sluggish as well. Like, I could see like 10-7 in the middle of the second quarter, and fans are just going crazy. And then Downs has a
Kind of
pick
like
six.
they were doing with the defense this last week.
Yeah. And then Downs has a pick six, and then the floodgates open.
That
I,
makes
I
sense.
really think this is the Caleb Downs game.
Yeah. Yeah, it very well could be. Very well could be. Brian says, I can't wait for Day and Chip to open up the playbook. They've kept it kind of basic so far, saving stuff for the bigger games down the line. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I don't know if this is the game they open up the playbook, though, Zach. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because on one hand, they've been, I guess, a little vanilla, but vanilla for Chip Kelly has been all these fun new run concepts. So I'm like, when I first said that, I'm like, oh, they haven't opened up the playbook. But you're right; they have more. They have more stuff they can build on. I think even Will Howard said they're excited to see what else they can do. So
Yeah, Will Howard was asked a question today in his press conference, and somebody said something about like more to show, and he just kind of smiled, and he was like, "Just wait." It's just like, and he didn't say that exactly, but it was almost like his response. He tried to give a response, but you could tell, like in his mind, he was kind of thinking, and he was like, "Yeah, there's a lot more coming,"
yeah,
type of deal. So,
yeah.
we might see more of it against Michigan State, especially if they do get off to a slow start, but we'll see. It's gonna be an entertaining game for sure. All right.